emotions, both beautiful and treacherous.
Welcome back to part 2 of YouTube's Darkest Iceberg. With this format, each level will progressively get darker and darker until we reach the very bottom, where I'll go over some of the content here that, to this day, leaves me utterly disturbed. And like last time, I'll be having some friends join me in guiding you down to the very depths of this iceberg. But unlike last time, things are about to get much, much more disturbing. So sit back, relax, and I will see you all at the very bottom.
What's up, you guys? Yes, it's your boy Carcass Husband back to you with another. This shit's so fucking difficult. Now, without further ado, let's get right into the pedophiles. Romeo Lacoste, once considered one of the most prominent tattoo artists in the celebrity sphere. Romeo ran a YouTube channel centered around his career, where he would accrue fame after racking up over 1 million subscribers. Though before long, predatory accusations began to emerge about his interactions with young fans behind the scenes. In March of 2019, a series of DMs and text messages between Romeo and 2 girls would be released, with the messages coming from back in 2016, when the girls were just 14 and 15 years old. Despite their young age, Romeo sent them a manifold of vile and sexually charged messages, all the while knowing full well he was chatting with minors. And from then on, his once enjoyable life began to cascade down an agonizing staircase of anguish as more allegations were lobbied in his way. His ex-girlfriend went on record and claimed she too was groomed by him, being only 14 at the time they started dating, while he was 19. There was little silly Romeo could say to defend himself in the wake of these allegations. And as predators usually do, he somehow managed to make things even worse for himself by opening his foul mouth.
There's a part where you say, are you willing to do it before you turn 18?
Yes, so let me address that. So that, I'm not going to deny that was real, but here's the here's the big loop about it. Here's the big sort of fabrication, smoke and mirrors or whatever that everyone's not getting to see is that, a lot of these girls, I'll just make a quick backtrack, I'll keep it really short.
It is now clear that Romeo is in fact yet another statistic in the long line of pathetic internet predators who have gone unpunished. And this has not stopped him from continuing his career as an influencer. Despite his channel floating dead like a bloated corpse in the murky waters of YouTube history, he has gone on to grow a sizable following on TikTok, many of whom are unaware of his disturbing history. I could have been a predator. In what may go down as one of the most sussy self-reports on YouTube, a creator by the name of Glendon Cameron would post a video in 2021 titled, "I could have been a predator. That R. Kelly energy is different and all-consuming." Okay. In it, the 55-year-old man shares a story about sleeping with a 17-year-old girl. Apparently, she had told him that she was actually 21, and yet despite discovering she was still a senior in high school while he himself was over 40 years old, he made the decision to continue sleeping with her for the next 5 years while persisting to admit he had much similar instances with other young girls.
And I was like, I need you to tell me something. How old are you? And then she got very silent and she said, I'll be 18 in 4 months. And you know what I kept doing?
Yeah, some girls will do that, but some men will, rape young girls. Automatically, immediately. Yeah, some girls can lie, but some men can rape. Well, everybody can rape, but I can't believe I'm saying that word. I mean sexual assaults. Sexually assaults, but for him to be 30 years old and up, he should know better. He should know better. Clearly, you see the girl. You know. She told you that she was 17, but you probably raped her. I kept saying. Her.
On top of his 1000 IQ Among Us strategic move to confess to this, he would also go on to express sympathy for R. Kelly, comparing themselves as they both seem to have an appetite for younger girls.
I have a similar appetite to R. Kelly. I like young women.
Before further dismissing claims that R. Kelly was a predator by saying,
R. Kelly is being portrayed as a predator, right? Did he hold a gun to these women's heads?
Currently, Glendon runs a channel called the Institute of Economic Thought. Okay, why the f*** do predators always title their like this, like they're some kind of pretentious intellectual? We see right through you, buddy. Shut the f*** up. It has over 100,000 subscribers, not to mention his other countless pages hosting utterly garbage content. EDP 445. What was probably one of the most explosive stories in all of 2021 YouTube. EDP was a once popular creator who had been caught attempting to meet a 13-year-old girl whom he had been sending explicit messages to for months.
We have you talking to Sophie, correct? Yes or no?
Right.
And before we get into the messages, there was sexual content involved, yes or no?
Right.
And you sent
Correct.
Okay, all right. So what brings you out here today?
Oh, I was actually coming out here to pick up a cupcake.
This led to the instantaneous removal of his YouTube channel, and what many assumed to be the end of his online career. As on top of this, the infamous cupcake incident was far from the first time allegations have come out against him. It would seem he has a long history with messaging minors. Interestingly, in spite of the immense backlash he's faced, he is still attempting to make a comeback to this day, having been caught on sites like Vimeo, TikTok, and of course, YouTube, where he recently started a new channel within just a few weeks of Nick starting this video. Though all of these accounts, to our knowledge, have since been taken down. The fact he's still trying to carve his silly self back into the online sphere after everything he's done means that this likely won't be the last time we hear from him. What saddens me the most, though, is the fact that these new pages quickly gain a considerable amount of fanfare in their short lifespans, as many of his fans have forgiven him for his predatory ways. Sad. Plasma Master Don. Once considered a wholesome figure by masses on the internet, known for his shitty covers of popular songs. It would eventually be publicly unveiled by the one and only Nicholas Crowley that this feeble elderly man, Donzel Owens Jr., was actually a convicted sex offender. Called it. But perhaps the most surprising development came in the weeks following the expose Nick made about him, as the Don would soon brutally die after this. The plot twist of Plasma Master Don's anti-redemption arc on YouTube truly remains one of the most captivating stories ever to unfold in this platform, and shows us yet again that even the most wholesome personalities on camera are still capable of doing some of the greatest evils behind closed doors.
You know that.
7 Supergirls. Perhaps one of the most high-profile predator cases in YouTube's history. 7 Supergirls was a channel that had amassed over 9 million subscribers. Its content ranged from shopping hauls to skits to daily routines, but at its core was always centered around a variety of teenage girls, as this was also the page's targeted demographic, at least as it appeared on the surface. Its creator, a man named Ian Rylett, was also the founder of a variety of other teen-based channels, with a man garnering a staggering 17 million subscribers in total. And for years, he operated these channels with minimal controversy, earning him an enormous amount of wealth in the process. As is the normal life cycle with channels like these, it would all come crashing down in 2019 when he was accused of molesting one of the underage actresses he hired. On top of this, Ian would often undress this particular actress and threaten her with fines if she refused to give in to his demands. Upon the allegation being made, it would also be brought to light that the contracts he forced solely to his underage actresses to sign were concerning, to say the least. With one line reading, "It is likely there will be physical or bodily contact, potentially of an intimate nature. You pedophiles never fail to disgust the world around you." The discovery eventually led to Ian's arrest, to which he would plead guilty of molestation and be charged with lewd or lascivious battery of a minor. And what was his punishment, you may be wondering? Life in prison? That'll do. 20 years. I'll take that. 10 years? Better than nothing. 5 years. Okay, you're pushing it. 1 year? You are joking, right? No, how about 90 days? Yeah, he got sentenced to 3 months in prison. Anyway, Ian's channels were terminated by YouTube, and that's the end of 7 Supergirls. Fake challenges. Though the focus of this section has solely been on creators, in reality the majority of the predators here on YouTube are hiding in the audience. Very early on, disturbed individuals discovered that if they could find little-known YouTube channels run by young kids, they could coerce them into performing lewd acts for them, and they did so under the guise of fake challenges. Essentially, the commenter would propose a challenge they made up themselves in order to have the child creator get into a suggestive pose or perform an action with sexual undertones. For example, one of these predators would comment on a child's video saying they should try the bend-over challenge or the shower challenge, spurring kids to film themselves doing said action and uploading it to YouTube, completely unaware that they were providing sexualized content for the commenter. It's an extremely sickening practice, though one that thankfully has been drastically reduced through YouTube removing the comment sections on videos made by minors. This section has been brought to you by Mama Max. Subscribe to my YouTube channel because I'm better than Nexpo and Nick Crowley combined. If you had to compare both of us, you'd probably say they're like Krillin, and I'm like Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye-bye now.
Thank you so much, Max. Everyone make sure to go not subscribe to him. From here on out, things are going to get even less brand-friendly, and demonetization is pretty much inevitable, so I want to give a massive thank you to our sponsor, Upside, for making this video financially possible. It is no secret that
I'm just gonna skip this one.
Welcome to CC! Step right this way to my incredible all-you-can-gobble buffet! A wondrous world of extra...
Am I still recording? Oh yeah, I thought I wasn't. Oh, I was about to say.
Linda Rogers' last video. Linda Rogers' last video refers to a tragic event that occurred back in February of 2018. Around this time, there'd been a series of natural gas leaks that unfortunately resulted in a number of houses quite literally exploding in an instant. These leaks led to the deaths of 9 people across north and central Texas, including the subject of this video. The video itself is a time-lapse of 12-year-old Linda Michelita Rogers, who was supposed to be included in a morning-style vlog video she was creating. Unfortunately, though, this video would never be completed, as shortly into the time-lapse, one of these freak gas explosions occurs. In just a matter of 3 frames, you see Linda, electricity, and flames, and then smoke before it cuts to black. Linda did not survive the blast, leaving only this chilling clip to show what she was doing in her final moments, which her family has since uploaded to bring awareness to this terrifying phenomena.
Sad.
Body in a cooler. This entry deals with a clip that surfaced back in 2020, titled "Found Dead Body in a Cooler at a Lake," in which a group of kids discover a long-abandoned cooler in the woods.
That shit is gay. Got duct tape all over it. There's maggots. Oh no, fuck that.
They're goofing around and laughing, as most kids at their age would. But things begin to grow more serious as they notice it's emitting a terrible smell. This group takes turns daring each other to open it, until someone finally does. And what they find inside is nearly indescribable. It's impossible to tell what it really is, or was, as the cooler was completely filled with what the kids first assumed to be dead fish. Though in the last 2 minutes of the video, they begin to realize that this may very well be something far more sinister, and they decide to call the police. The footage ends with no resolution, leaving an air of uncertainty surrounding their discovery. Though within the comments, an update would soon emerge describing the alleged truth behind the substance found in the cooler, which read, "Update on this situation. It was a dead infant that was neglected and abandoned in that cooler filled with water. Location will not be disclosed due to privacy reasons. The validity of this video is something that is yet to be confirmed, meaning that this could quite possibly be a hoax, but something about the contents of that cooler seems all too real."
I think
Granny Ripper. Granny Ripper refers to a video on YouTube depicting the infamous Russian serial killer, Tamara Samsonova. Samsonova was arrested in July of 2015 on suspicion of 2 murders, but is now suspected of nearly 15. She has since become infamous, not only for her crimes, but for her old age, as at the time of her arrest, she was nearly 70 years old. Though this didn't stop her from committing some of the most gruesome crimes imaginable. In the YouTube video, Serial Killer Granny Ripper filmed footage Russia. We see Samsonova standing in an inconspicuous blue parka captured by her apartment's CCTV. Carefully, she walks back and forth, bringing out what appears to be a covered pot. On the evening of July 26, the body of Samsonova's roommate, Valentina Nikolaevna Ulanova, was discovered decapitated with severed limbs, with it later being determined that within this very container was the actual head of Ulanova. Samsonova would be arrested on July 29, 2015, thanks to the damning CCTV footage that has now been leaked to YouTube. Though what many have found most chilling about this video was the smile she gives upon her capture, even blowing a kiss to the camera, clearly showing a complete lack of remorse for all the death she caused. The streamer finds a body. There have been a few instances of streamers happening upon a deceased person. This entry specifically refers to a video in which 2 streamers named Gucci's and Stop Speeding are streaming a casual walk down a sidewalk. Gucci's then mentions that when she had been walking by the same spot earlier, she had passed a homeless man who was not moving, though they had assumed that they were simply sleeping. However, upon walking past that same location, the 2 noticed that the man is still there.
Oh my god, this guy? Or no, it's not this guy. Someone was in like a bedsheet and I thought they were a dead body. You're not a dead body, are you?
The 2 joke around, attempting to get the attention of the man and wake him up, though there is no response. This leads to one of the individuals feeling the arm of the man, only to discover that the body is freezing cold. The stream then devolves to chaos as Gucci's breaks down crying, with the reality setting in that the man has passed.
No! It's not okay! No, it's not okay!
It's a tragic scenario, not just for the man whose life was lost, but also for the streamers who undoubtedly live with the trauma of discovering a dead body. And all while they're just trying to have a normal stream with their audience. The last selfie photo. The last selfie photo is a video showing what looks to be dozens of people clinging to the wheels of a plane as it prepares to take off. It quickly becomes clear that their idea here is to ride the plane the same way one would hitchhike a train. But unfortunately, that's not how it works. This video was recorded in August 2021 in Afghanistan, mere hours after the United States announced that they were withdrawing all military presence in the area. Many Afghan people realized that this country would soon fall to the Islamist extremist Taliban, and did whatever they could to escape. And within this footage, we see a group of people attempting to do just that.
Did they make it? Okay, before anything, before he says it, I just want to know if they make it. People in Afghanistan, I hope they're like, I hope nothing bad happens in this clip.
Though their attempts would be futile, as everyone who hung onto the plane either were crushed when the wheels shifted back into the plane's body, or fell to their deaths soon after liftoff. Their actions are unfortunately reflective of sheer desperation to escape, especially considering that even if they had managed to hang on somehow, their bodies would not have been able to withstand the extreme cold of that altitude, meaning that they were not going to make it either way. Thankfully, the video cuts off before we see the devastation firsthand, but the aftermath was likely extremely brutal. The Schizophrenia Dad refers to a video in which the uploader, Newsy Girl 2008, records her father in various stages of what appears to be a mental break, which is confirmed by the text at the beginning of the video, stating that this footage was recorded on the way to a psych ward.
Hello, Bride of Christ. This is your little servant boy, King of America.
It starts out with the dad addressing the camera, rambling nonsensically, before a darker turn. The video cuts and we can see the uploader's dad hanging out on the side of a car. You can hear the family members pleading for him to get back into the vehicle, though it's obvious that this episode had left him completely out of control. The video ends with footage of him flashing passing cars and smoking a cigarette while continuing his rambling. Delving into the comments section, the uploader reveals that prior to this video, her dad had been missing for weeks before returning and dragging her brother out of bed. Her comments go on to say, "My mom and I didn't know until we heard my brother cry out for help, but by then we were in the car and driving away. We thought he was going to kill my brother, but he came back and my brother told us he had drowned our dog in the river. He stripped naked, so Mom said, time to go to the hospital." It turns out the man in this video is named Roland Cannard, and unfortunately, he didn't make it very long after this video was recorded, as he died of suicide on November 25th, 2001, about a year after the footage was taken.
Oh my god.
Rapire. Rapire refers to another haunting bit of CCTV footage. In it, we see a bus preparing to let people off as people walk by idly on the sidewalk. About 45 seconds in, as riders exit the vehicle, a black car recklessly pulls up behind the bus and comes to a stop. A figure then emerges from the car and grabs one of the riders, a girl who was just 15 years old, and then forces her to the ground. After a few seconds off camera, they come back into frame and the man forces the person into the car. They then quickly take off into the night. This is a pretty cut and dry kidnapping, but what's most disturbing about this video is how the bystanders simply don't react. They either stand by and watch, or continue their night as if nothing happened. A true case of the bystander effect in action.
Ooh, I hope nothing
The
bad
Blue Hole
happens
Dead
to it.
Diver. The Blue Hole is a famous diving spot located in Sinai, an area a few kilometers north of Dahab, Egypt. Since it's a sinkhole that reaches a depth of nearly 400 feet and lacks a current, its popularity amongst divers has remained consistent for a long time. However, this popularity has also led to it being one of the most frequent sites for diving fatalities in the world, with anywhere between 130 to 200 deaths occurring at the spot in recent years. This wide range of estimation means that you never know what you might find on a dive, and unfortunately, this YouTube video shows a diver coming face to face with the mortality of their hobby. The short video, taken at a depth of 367 feet, shows the POV of a diver, shining his light on what appears to be a deserted oxygen tank. Though as he approaches, it quickly becomes obvious that the oxygen tank was attached to a long dead diver, who must have underestimated the danger of the Blue Hole. The identity of this diver has never been revealed. Annalise Michel audio. Throughout a 10-month span beginning in the year of 1975, a 23-year-old woman named Annalise Michel would undergo a series of exorcisms to rid her of what the priest believed to be a demonic possession. In reality, Annalise Michel had been suffering from numerous seizures caused by epileptic psychosis, which was mistaken for possession. This led to a staggering 67 exorcisms being performed in secrecy on the woman, all at the expense of her receiving legitimate help for her medical issues. Throughout the span of these sessions, various records would be made documenting the girl's behaviors, which would be uploaded to YouTube years later, providing some truly haunting audio. In the end, Annalise would never be cured of her supposed possession, and would ultimately die as a result of constant grueling exorcisms, as well as malnourishment she suffered as a result.
No, I can't watch that one. That video terrified me. It still terrifies me.
Finding a friend. On the evening of December 13th, 2019, a man by the name of Andre Grady had disappeared from his home in Newport, Virginia. Having been paralyzed in a drive-by shooting at the age of just 5, the disappearance was especially concerning, as his lack of mobility made it unlikely he left on his own accord. In the day following Andre last being seen, a group of his closest friends would band together to form a search party while live streaming the whole thing to further spread awareness in the community.
Try to find our son. Hey, yo, we down here at 24th and Marshall, yo. We doing a search party for Dre, man. Where you at? This shit don't make no sense out here, yo.
As the group continues filming, They eventually stumble across Andre's wheelchair marks in the grass leading to a nearby home. And upon checking the crawl space beneath it, they would find Andre's deceased body.
Oh my god.
Oh man,
What
bro.
is that? What is it?
Yo, y'all go. Oh, and I see a shoe, bro.
Oh my god.
He was beaten and shoved underneath the house, with no motive for the attack ever being discovered. To this day, the mystery of who took Andre's life remains. But what's most heartbreaking about this clip is the fact that those who found him were his closest friends.
Is that him? Wait, the police do that. Wait.
And the pain in their voices, to this day, makes this entire video extremely difficult to watch. Man tries to save drowning woman. On what should have been a fun trip to Spain, a group of travelers were spending the day by the sea. When looking for a challenge, one member of their group would jump into the water beneath a short cliff. The current was raging, though the lady believed that she'd be able to make it out safely. The sea's fury is unmatched, however, and she'd soon grow overwhelmed, getting tossed around like a rag doll. On the shore overlooking the struggling swimmer, a friend of the woman named Danilia Gagrin would jump in and grab her in an attempted rescue. Though he too stood little chance, as the two of them would ultimately succumb to the treacherous water. And standing helplessly above, with the camera in hand, was Danilia's wife, who had no choice but to just stand there, to watch them, as their lives came to a very unfortunate end. Do you agree with euthanasia? This documentary follows the story of a woman named Michelle Goss as she prepares and then carries out her own euthanization.
Je ne l'ai plus, vous savez. Je perds mes mots, je perds la mémoire. Mais c'est très facile de passer de la vie à la mort. Maintenant, s'il vous plaît, je vais abattre cette potion, mais vous plaisantez. Mais enfin, c'est un jeu d'enfant.
She did this not because of any terminal illness, but rather due to a series of small manageable illnesses. She effectively decided to pass away on her own terms. In the video, we watch as Michelle legally obtains pentobarbital on her 74th birthday, a drug commonly used in places where self-euthanasia is legal. The whole thing is incredibly eerie, despite the fact that Michelle remains completely calm throughout the entire process and never wavers from her impending death.
Vous savez, je suis désolé, vous, le preneur de son, mais j'ai pas de dernier mot. J'aurais aimé avoir un dernier mot, mais vous savez que Foucault disait, il n'y a plus rien à dire, hélas.
On lui a demandé sur son lit de mort presque, il a dit, il n'y a rien à dire.
She even has friends over for a party to celebrate both her birthday and the day she was to die.
Écoutez, vous voulez vraiment mourir aujourd'hui?
Absolument.
Vous êtes persuadé de vouloir mourir?
Oui.
Parce que si vous buvez ce médicament, vous vous endormez, vous allez mourir.
Oui.
Ça, c'est clair.
C'est ma volonté.
C'est votre volonté.
Oui.
Alors, je vous dis au revoir.
Adieu. Au revoir, Erika.
Au revoir, Michel.
C'est ma volonté ferme et définitive.
Michelle says her goodbyes as a friend makes the cocktail that would end her life in just a matter of minutes, and the video ends with Michelle passing away to the harmony of her favorite music.
What in the world? What in the world? They should have got her help instead of like they basically like murdered her. She was going to do that's the suicide. That's really suicide. They should have helped her or something instead of like persuading her, like agreeing with her to like commit suicide. Like
Mężczyzna postrzelony. Bro, I'm not even gonna try this. In Poland, A worker strike was taking place to protest the current conditions that medical personnel were facing. From what I could gather through some translated articles, it appears that the medics were demanding better resources, sick leave, and overall more balanced benefits. Not everyone agreed with the movement though, as their absence had a direct impact on patients in the area. During this particular video, we see a group of the medics protesting on stage, further explaining their purpose for striking, when out of nowhere, a gunshot rings out.
O godzinie 18:30 zapraszamy na naszą konferencję prasową.
Nothing in this video is shown, but just off camera and directly in front of the people on stage, a man had taken out a handgun and taken his own life as a way of protesting the strike. There is something incredibly dark about the shock in the faces of those who witnessed this, as everyone's individual reaction was different. One thing is for certain though, and it's that this event that they had just seen is likely going to have a lasting impact on the rest of their lives. Break video. On the 12th of June 2012, a car filled with two couples and a young child was driving down a two-lane highway in Russia. The car was equipped with a dash cam that would record a large truck passing by. Unbeknownst to them though, the truck was filled with bricks, and out of nowhere, one would dislodge and fly directly at the car, crashing through its windshield at an unimaginable speed.
I seen the... Oh my god. I seen that video.
Sitting in its direct path was 29-year-old Olga Gaikovich, who would be struck in the head, killing her instantly. This is the ultimate case.
Police just went by my house. Oh my gosh. And I'm watching this video. Oh my gosh.
Of wrong place, and very unfortunately, wrong time. And although this video is very well known, the screams and cries from her husband, who had been sitting right next to her, is absolutely gut-wrenching. It makes the entire video far too disturbing to show here tonight. Yemen couple drowns. This entry refers to a video from April 12, 2013 that shows a young couple filming themselves in a local body of water. As the two joke around and pose for the camera, the man suddenly loses balance and slides down a steep drop-off beneath the surface. As he desperately tries to regain his footing, he then appears to instinctively grab his girlfriend, pulling her into the deeper water as well. They both cling desperately to each other, trying to save themselves from drowning, but they only make it worse. And in an instant, they both disappear, leaving nothing but the serene water and the sounds of nature. Their bodies were found days later. Diving accidents. Many will agree that drowning would be one of the worst ways to go, which makes videos of fatal diving accidents all the more chilling. Most famously, Yuri Lipsky had attempted a free dive in a location known as Blue Hole, the same spot mentioned in the previous layer when things went horribly wrong. Yuri's descent became uncontrolled, and he fell to the bottom of the ocean way too quickly, causing him to suffer from nitrogen narcosis. This put him in a drunken-like state, as he plummeted over 115 meters below the surface. While down there, he fights with his gear before realizing that he would not be able to make it back up. And the moments he captured on his camera would be his final on Earth. Another haunting account came from David Shaw, a decorated freediver who had set out on a retrieval mission in a particularly dangerous area. Prior to this, a fellow diver named Dion Dreyer had passed away in that very location, and given the fact that David was one of very few actually willing to do a deep dive in that location, he would volunteer to retrieve the young man's body. He did so while simultaneously trying to break a new diving record, which would be captured by a documentary crew filming the entire process.
Support divers will meet him at different depths. They'll bring him food and liquids and check his condition. An hour and a half into the dive, and an ominous message reaches the surface.
Bond's okay. Dive's not gonna.
Though in a tragic case of irony, David, on his descent down, would also perish after becoming tangled with the very corpse he set out to catch.
I don't need a therapist. My dad always said, walk it off. So that's what I do. I push through and I shove my feet.
Corpse he set out to catch.
The Jim Jones Death Tape 78. The Jim Jones Death Tape 78 is a 44-minute
Oh, this is the worst. Jim Jones, cult. He was inside this church with a bunch of people, and it led to like millions and millions of suicide, and including parents killing their own children, like, and babies and dogs and animals. It was the worst. And they have pictures of it, of the people all dead, and recordings and videos. It's like the worst. When I first saw it, it scared me. It still
Recording
scares
of the
me.
moments before and during the Jonestown Massacre, a mass suicide/murder carried out in 1978, where 909 people would tragically lose their lives. The cult, known as the People's Temple, had been convinced by their leader Jim Jones to drink cyanide-laced Kool-Aid, under the belief that the group was soon going to be exposed, while those who refused to drink the poison concoctions were forcibly injected with cyanide. The guards had even been instructed to shoot any members who had attempted to flee. Shockingly, all of this was captured by an audio recording that can now be found on YouTube in a slightly edited version. And it's honestly one of the hardest things you'll ever listen to.
How very much I've tried my best to give you the good life. But in spite of all of that I've tried, a handful of our people, with their lives, have made our life impossible. There's no way to detach ourselves from what's happened today.
Babies crying, people yelling.
As Jones speaks to his people, you can hear the sounds of death in the background, and most disturbingly, the sounds of children being comforted by their parents as they pass away. Aeroflight 593. Aeroflight 593 refers to the infamous Russian commercial airline crash that killed all 75 people on board, with the plane having fallen from the air not because of some sort of malfunction, but because of an extremely unfortunate mistake. In the cockpit, the pilot would allow his 12-year-old daughter and 16-year-old son to stand alongside him as he flew the plane. He even went as far as to allow his son to take over the wheel as the plane had been in autopilot. However, the son would end up turning the wheel too hard in one direction, causing the plane to switch to manual steering and immediately plummet towards the ground below. From there, the pilots desperately tried to regain control of the falling plane, unaware of what was actually happening, with the whole struggle having been recorded, eventually being posted onto YouTube.
Why would you lick your own kids? Oh my god, irresponsible. Like, irresponsible. Like, he should have known better. I'm sorry. I feel bad for the passengers and the kids. Like, but that was like totally irresponsible of that man and his kids do that. Like, he should have known better.
The terror in the voices of everyone in the cockpit is extremely dark, and made all the more horrific as the plane crashes into the mountain range below, killing everyone on board. Most tragically, it would later be revealed that if the pilot had simply taken his hands off the wheel, the plane would have automatically corrected itself and re-engaged the autopilot.
No, he just
The Astro World clips. On the 5th of November 2021, Travis Scott had been hosting his annual Astro World Festival at NRG Park in Houston, Texas.
Oh, do you guys remember about this one? I heard about this one. I'm not like a rapper fan or nothing like that, but I did hear about this one. This one's like very tragic and it's just very sad.
Erupted into chaos. Upon Travis arriving on stage at approximately 9:02 p.m., the massive crowd of fans pushed towards the stage, causing one of the most horrific occurrences, a human crush. People were squeezed against the barriers and crushed to the point that many were unable to breathe, all the while desperately calling out for help. But help never came, and instead, over 300 people would be left injured, with 10 sadly losing their lives. For this entry, picking one video to show the chaos would be impossible, as so many accounts exist on YouTube from that day. And what is most prominent throughout these clips is the helplessness of it all, as the victims were left to their own devices in that crowd. And with the power of that many people pushing against you, death was always inevitable. The station nightclub fire. Flashing back to yet another concert disaster, this event took place on the 20th of February 2003. That night, a band called Great White had been performing at a nightclub called The Station, when their pyrotechnics would accidentally ignite the acoustic foam on the walls and ceiling surrounding the stage. Almost immediately, the venue was set ablaze and covered in a thick black smoke. As a result, the crowd all rushed towards the exit and became trapped due to the high number of people trying to fit through the small doors. Desperate to escape, people would try and shove their way out, but this only made things more jammed. And before long, the smoke would cause many so tantalizingly close to the exit to perish. As a result, 100 people would lose their lives, with footage of the event later being posted to YouTube. And what has always stood out to me with this footage is just how fast it all happened, as within just moments, the fate of so many concertgoers was sealed. The Versailles Wedding Hall disaster video. Perhaps one of the most infamous disaster videos ever taken, the footage shows a packed dance floor within the Versailles Wedding Hall in Jerusalem on the evening of the 24th of May 2001. The event itself was a wedding for Karen and Asaf Dror, a young couple from the area who drew in hundreds of guests who were seen here dancing and having a good time. However, things take a drastic turn as the floor below them begins to sag and eventually gives way. In total, 23 people would fall to their deaths, with hundreds more being left seriously injured. An investigation would later reveal that faulty construction was to blame, along with negligence from the owner.
Yep. And they only gave him
Beirut
like
explosion.
a short life.
Of all the disaster videos
short
found on YouTube, few are as shocking as those depicting the Beirut explosion. On the 4th of August 2020, a building known as Warehouse 12, located in the port of Beirut, would catch fire. And having been filled to the brim with ammonium nitrate and fireworks, the blaze would quickly result in an explosion. Following the initial blast, onlookers would record the ordeal in which you can actually see the flashes from the fireworks within the smoke. Although, much to these onlookers' surprise, the destruction wasn't finished yet, as suddenly another explosion would occur, with this one being much larger. Within moments, the entire area is seemingly blown to pieces, with the power of the blast alone being enough to cause buildings in the vicinity to crumble instantly, and the blast itself triggering seismic activity equivalent to a magnitude 4.5 earthquake. As a result, the area was left completely decimated, with 218 people tragically losing their lives. Much like other disasters of this magnitude, it was captured in numerous videos, all of which proved to be equally as disturbing, with most of these clips eventually finding their way to YouTube.
Oh my god.
The Challenger explosion. Of all the disasters discussed so far, this one is particularly morbid thanks to a few utterly depressing details. On the 28th of January 1986, the United States attempted to launch a space shuttle named Challenger, only for it to explode just moments into its journey. All 7 crew members would sadly lose their lives, with one of which being a woman named Krista McAuliffe. Krista was actually a teacher at the time, who was personally selected to partake in the mission after applying for the NASA Teacher in Space project.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Grant.
Simple question, why you?
It's really hard to say.
What's a dream come true for you?
Oh, it certainly is.
And sadly, her entire class had been watching at the time she was killed, along with countless other classrooms across the United States. Making matters even more horrible, the second place finisher for the contest, a woman named Barbara Morgan, was actually present at the launch and served as backup for Krista should she not be able to go. Her reaction to the incident was filmed live.
I get down?
I can't even imagine what must have been going through her mind watching the shuttle explode, knowing that she had so narrowly missed out on being on board. And this isn't even the only disturbing detail, as it would be later theorized that the crew aboard the Challenger almost certainly survived the initial blast. The main cab remained intact despite the explosion, meaning that they were still alive and likely conscious as they fell to the water below, with the impact being their true cause of death.
I'm a leakage coordinator. I really love it. I love going out into the community.
Their true cause of death.
That was my first time actually seeing the teacher that was supposed to be on the plane reaction. Like, that's the only part that I haven't seen. That the rest of the parts I knew. Like, oh my gosh, that's sad.
Congratulations on making it to the very bottom of this iceberg, and in turn, the very depths of YouTube. This level is filled with the content here on YouTube that, for one reason or another, truly strikes a chord with me. Some of these entries will be too graphic to show, but I'll do my best to walk you through them regardless. Man in the suitcase. In February of 2020, a woman named Sarah Boone would call 911 reporting that she had found her boyfriend George Torres unconscious in a suitcase within their home. According to the woman, the two had been playing a game of hide-and-seek the night before when Torres decided to hide within an empty suitcase. Unable to find him, Sarah would give up her search and accidentally fall asleep, leaving Torres trapped in the luggage where he would eventually suffocate to death. Or at least that was the story she was trying to tell. Unsurprisingly, this version of events just seemed too bizarre to be believed, and upon investigating the matter further, police would eventually find a video on Sarah's phone that immediately dismantled the narrative she was trying to weave. The video shows the suitcase, with George inside of it, begging and pleading for Sarah to help him, to which she instead ignores him.
Sarah.
Fuck you.
Sarah.
Stupid.
Sarah.
That's my name. Don't wear it up.
During the video's runtime, we can see George desperately trying to escape as he presses against the sides of the tiny piece of luggage. But there was quite literally nothing he could do. Those zippers had sealed him in and trapped him at the mercy of Sarah, and her mind was already made up. Torres would eventually die a slow and brutal death due to asphyxiation, with it later being revealed that Sarah had drunkenly forced him into the bag and closed the zipper, ending his life in one of the most chilling ways I could ever imagine. For Our Son. On October 8th, 2008, a video tribute titled For Our Son was posted to YouTube, memorializing a young man who had lost his life in the Jokela High School massacre. The incident took place almost a full year before, on November 7th, 2007, where an 18-year-old named Pekka Erik Ovin would enter Jokela High School with a loaded handgun and begin firing on the students. Tragically, 9 people would lose their lives, including the gunman. Knowing this video was made by the parents of a boy who lost their life in the incident makes it all so depressing, as it shows a slideshow of their son growing older and older throughout the years, a growing process that would be abruptly cut short due to his shocking and traumatic death, and one can only imagine the grief that these parents were experiencing and likely continue to experience to this very day, as there's nothing worse than losing a child. Though there's something slightly off about this video, as around halfway through, things take a unusual and unexpected turn. As the young boy in the photos gets older and older, we begin to see what he may have looked like during the time of the shooting, to which it soon becomes apparent that this family son was not actually a victim, and instead, he was the perpetrator, the man behind the massacre. Blind Date. Blind Date was an art piece carried out by John Duncan, a man best known for his extreme and in this case highly disturbing performance art. Leading up to the project, Duncan had experienced the collapse of a long-term relationship, and feeling empty and angry that he had wasted so much time on something that inevitably failed, he wanted to punish himself. This eventually gave him the idea that he would get a vasectomy, and thus take away his ability to ever have children in the future. But being the eccentric artist that he is, he viewed this punishment as an opportunity to base his next performance off, which is where Blind Date comes into play. Knowing that he would soon be losing his ability to have children, Duncan decided to use what he described as his last potent seed on this project, and he wanted it to carry a deeper symbolic meaning. So he hatched the idea of purchasing a deceased body, having intercourse with it, and then sewing their body closed before its burial, thus burying his final seed as well. And this is something that he would not only imagine, but actually carry out, traveling to Tijuana where a mortician allowed him to use a body at the cost of $80. Duncan's original plan was to film the entire ordeal and then display the film at an art installation, but the mortician forbade him from using a camera, so he instead used an audio recorder to capture the sounds of him and this corpse. To this day, that audio can be found right here on YouTube. Jimmy's Wish. This is a channel that I've been wanting to cover for years now, but the graphic nature of it has pretty much ruled out a full-scale deep dive. The videos on this channel consist of a young boy named Jimmy who is shown laying in a hospital bed, connected to countless tubes and machines that are presumably keeping him alive. The visuals are horrible, as in most clips and images, it's clear that he is suffering and completely unresponsive to the world around him, which begs the question, how did this happen? Well, the channel itself was set up by Jimmy's father, who claims his son's condition is a result of his doctors suffocating him with a plastic bag.
He needs your help now. My son's ribcage is collapsing into his heart and lungs, and he's running out of time. His shoulders and hips are broken and disconnected, and repeatedly and cruelly denied medical intervention.
It feels like he's trying to get money off of his son.
The doctors know he will clearly die, and the doctors know the police will not investigate. My son was suffocated with a plastic bag by 2 Japanese doctors and 2 nurses.
Though this of course is just one side of the story, as some believe that the father is merely consumed by grief, which has understandably caused him to slowly lose his mind. But either way, the full truth of this channel is not really known today. And putting the disturbing mystery element aside, it is truly one of the darkest and most tragic channels the site has ever seen, as the pain this child and his father are experiencing is all too real. Cultural Philistine. On December 14th, 2012, a 20-year-old named Adam Lanza would enter Sandy Hook Elementary armed with weapons and proceed to start shooting, leading to the deaths of 26 people, not including his mother, whom he would also kill along with himself. Since the slaying, multiple clips have emerged of Lanza, most notably playing DDR at his local arcade, a game that he was said to be obsessed with, playing for hours and hours on end each day, though he also had a YouTube channel that went by the name of Cultural Philistine. The reason behind this name itself is still unconfirmed, but one chilling theory has emerged, as users on Reddit would discover an old book from 1988 that too was titled Cultural Philistine. And in a haunting coincidence, the author's name was Cindy Hook, insinuating that Lanza had always planned on making Sandy Hook his target, and the clues were there all along. The videos themselves are quite disturbing, featuring a black screen and just the sound of Lanza's voice.
School is such a great place. You get to learn stuff. Become a better person to make a better tomorrow. And I think, well, what is school? School is culture. Basically, it's cultural indoctrination. I don't know why I don't just do it. Why am I expecting to accomplish anything before I do it?
And though this alone is highly distressing, there's one reason why I chose this channel as the final entry for this iceberg. The Sandy Hook massacre happened all the way back in 2012, and since then, people have poured an obscene amount of time into documenting Lanza's life, poring over every single online posting, every writing, and any trail he may have left behind. He's by far one of the most well-studied killers in the internet age. But despite all this, Cultural Philistine, his own personal YouTube channel, was only discovered just last year. Despite being live for over a decade, it wouldn't be until 2021 that this channel belonging to Lanza would be found. With the millions and millions of people who have studied Adam Lanza, one of the most evil people to ever exist on this earth, no one ever found his YouTube channel. It just sat there for years and years and years, dormant in the shadows. And if a channel belonging to him could have gone unnoticed for so long, then just imagine what else is out here, hiding in those same shadows. It's a horrifying and fascinating idea all at the same time, and it all truly leaves me to wonder, what we'll uncover next?
I don't want to know that. I don't want to know.
And with that, we have officially reached the end of YouTube's Darkest Iceberg. I want to give a massive thank you to Mama Max, Barely Sociable, Next...
Whew, that was a lot. Ooh, that was a lot. I'm not gonna lie, that was a lot. Some of it I heard and some of it I didn't heard. Some of it I kind of knew and some of them sounded familiar, but I didn't really know if I knew it or not. But it was like all of it was sad, all of it was disturbing, all of it was scary, all of it was just part 1 and part 2. All of it was interesting because some of them I heard years ago, months ago, days ago, just now. But oh, this was like a little bit too much for me, but glad they made this so we can get like all the information, kind of, some of it. But yeah, I just don't know what to say. But anyways, hope you guys are interested in this video. I'm not gonna say enjoy, but I'm just gonna say if you guys are interested in my reaction in this video, then subscribe to Nick Crowley and Mr. Ballin. And also, the channels that he mentioned also. But anyways, hope you guys enjoy. Make sure to subscribe, like, and comment if you want to not. And I see you guys next time I see ya. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed Thanksgiving. Like, mine was good. I ate lots of food. But I hope you guys enjoy your Thanksgiving also. And I see you guys next time I see ya.